Thank you very much, and thank you for a very kind introduction. Well, this is a strange animal we're all working on, the amazing palm. Most of you already know most of the things I will talk about this morning, but sometimes it's good to be sure that we share the same vision of things or same information. Sustainability is interesting for us as researchers because it asks questions to researchers. We all know the 3 Ps, and in terms of scientific topics, the sustainability raises a lot of questions in terms of what concerns the planet, of course, agroecology, breeding, waste management. They are not new things, but we have to reconsider them in the view of sustainability. Profit, of course, but they are almost the same things. You know, when you're running a plantation the right way, you're also working for planet and profit. So that's what we call ecological intensification, and Tim Benton talked about that. It's not useful now to put more fertilizer, more inputs in your culture if you don't think about the ecological impacts. And third, people, of course. I should have said that first. Are we really working for poverty alleviation? Are we really planting, respecting people's rights? And there are questions about public policies, ethical investment, and public-private partnership. I try to go through those areas in quite a short time. This is the model. It's a very original model for biologists, of course, because it's a grass, it's not a tree. It's a monocotyledonous. There are 2 cultivated species, Guinensis, Alorifera, and there's the hybrid. And what's original also is that there are 2 different oils in the same organ, the fruit, palm oil and kernel oil. And these are all mysteries we're all working on for decades, and there's still a lot to do in terms of understanding how this original biological model works. And for agronomists, of course, it's an oil factory. You all know that. A lot of productivity for oil, 2 different oil, and provides a non-GMO virgin oil. And it's a robust fellow. You can plant oil palm in many different conditions. It should be a smallholder scheme, should be outgrower scheme, or an association between industry and smallholders, and it will give you oil, whatever. You're putting inputs, you're putting fertilizer or not, it will give you oil. Maybe less, maybe more, but it's quite a robust crop. And it's also a biomass factory, something we don't all know. If you look at this tiny slide on the left side of this slide, you can see that the root biomass is almost as huge as the leaf biomass. And only 5% of the total biomass of the oil palm is going to the bunches. So there's a lot of impact in terms of carbon captation, in terms of soil improvement. When you're growing oil palm, you're putting a lot of organic matter in the soil. And some estates are very poor soils, and in some cases, I'd not say in all the cases, but in some cases your plantation might improve the quality and the porosity of your soils. It's also an original model for social studies. And you have to think about in which conditions this oil palm is really a poverty alleviator. It did work, it's still working. It worked perfectly in certain schemes, and there have been winners and losers. So we have to understand why it worked so perfectly in some cases and why it didn't work. And which model the governments, the deciders have to follow. A nucleus estate model, a pure industrial model, or outgrower scheme with a relationship with some mills. And we, as RSPO, we are research models as well. Which role do we have? Which role the government has? And the cohabitation of standards and the social impacts on long term. If you look at what happened to Felda in Malaysia, it's been a very long story. We can call it a success story with a lot of impacts in terms of politics, in terms of poverty alleviation. They are now facing problems with the 2nd generation of settlers. It's all these questions are research questions for us. And we have to remind people around us and ourselves that there are a couple of truths we cannot you have to accept or you have to deal with or to have to study. The demand for oil palm will grow. For how much, we don't know. And maybe it's not satisfactory as Tim Benton said. Maybe our growth model is not the right one. But whatever the scenario is, it's quite wise to anticipate a growth in demand. And it's oil palm one of the most profitable land use in the humid tropics. That's a fact as well. That's a truth. Plantations store more carbon than any alternative agricultural land uses under the tropics. That's a fact also. But another fact is that the native biodiversity within the oil palm plantation has nothing to do in terms of quantity and quality with what we are encountering in a native forest. So there are more and more publications about the oil palm, and that's very good because 20 years ago we felt a bit isolated. And now it's a subject of interest because more and more data are available, more and more technology are available for oil palm. Our Malaysian colleagues just issued the first oil palm genome a couple of months ago. So there are a lot of data coming in, and that's good. And now we are addressing very good research journals with a great audience, so we are attracting young scientists because it's a very interesting, the flurry of very interesting subjects, from nutrition to conservation through gene responsible of oil synthesis. This is what my group does. So yeah, we are entering the publish or perish area also as oil palm scientists. And most of the results are obtained through collaborative research. We at CIRAD know that for decades, but there are a lot of, let's say, a couple of handful of new coming projects which are able to generate a lot of high-quality results, and that's very important. And if you look at the partnership, this is very interesting to see Western University associating with companies like Smart or Sam Derby to work together on this bunch of results we are lacking. There are a lot of knowledge, and Tim was talking about building knowledge together. That's exactly what we have to do. And I would just cite a couple of projects, not all, but for example, this BEFTA, Bridging Smart and Cambridge, SAFE, which is ongoing, a large project with the Sam Darby Foundation and the Royal Society. These projects are officially or not. Some of them are officially linked with RSPO. Some of them are just satellite projects, but their aim is provide results, publish them, make them available so that our common knowledge is building. The Sensor project, which is about to launch, same scheme linking several universities with a plantation company. Our SPOT project, which is mostly a French project with some partnership in Indonesia, which has also the aim of understanding those very complex and subtle cropping systems. The aim is also to link agronomy with social science and to understand in which condition oil palm really is a poverty alleviator. Building knowledge, transferring it, sharing it, and using it for improving and strengthen our principle and criteria. Networks also, it's important to share knowledge. Even if we don't work on the same plot of land, if we don't work with the same partners, it's important from time to time to share knowledge on an informal way. This is the aim of Palminet, which is a network on indicators. As we all know, the PNC to be accepted and shared must be built on very sensible and shared indicators of sustainability. And research has an impact. If you look at what happened for breeding in the past 50 years, well, it's not too bad. The improvement in yields has reached more than 50% in 50 years, which means more than 1% a year. This is just what people get from corn improvement, maize improvement, or other crops improvement. We are not behind. We're working hard. We're getting interesting results in terms of breeding and management practices. So this is one of the pillars of sustainability, choosing the right planting material, and it has a huge impact. If you look at the former generation of plantings, they are naturally 40% less producing than the last generation of seedlings. This is another application which really talked to our South American colleagues. If you look at what happens with the bud rot disease, only by hybriding and choosing the right hybrids between Guinensis and oleifera, you can reduce significantly the mortality. There's a pink dot in the slide. So this is another benefit from research which comes directly into sustainability. I think an impact also about quality of the oil. If you look at what happens if you're producing more oleic oils from the hybrids, you can change totally the spectrum of fatty acid you got in your oil. And you can adapt your production to the demand or to the request of the market without GMOs, just using natural resources and genetic resources and doing the right research in breeding. Another area in which research has had a clear impact and quite quickly was composting. And composting provides you benefits on direct environmental services. Of course, your fertilizer bill will decrease, you increase organic matter in your soil, and you improve the carbon sequestration of your plantation. And indirectly, by using compost, you decrease the nitrogen leaching, N2O emissions and CO2 emissions, because you are using less and less inorganic fertilizer, which are most of them coming from the industry or from natural extraction. Another area which has been fantastic in terms of progress and transfer of innovation from research to the industry is the captation of methane and the use of biodigestion for producing methane in the plantation area, just covering our ponds. And you see the benefits are quite quick, and the figures are very interesting in terms of savings, in terms of mutation from fossil resources to something much more renewable, like methane coming from your ponds, your POMI treatment. So what we have to do as researchers, and I've been a bit forced, but finally I must confess I like it. You have to come into the public debate. We as researchers and members of the RSPO community, we know a lot of things. But people don't know what they should know. The same like for GMOs. People are taking decisions about GMOs. They don't know what a piece of DNA is or what a nucleus of a cell is. So we have to be back to the basics. It is a picture of me showing what an oil palm means to an audience, a public audience on the Science Festival in France. We produced a small booklet on controversies about the oil palm, putting things in the right order. Say, okay, this is an oil palm, this is an estate, this is what we're producing, this is what people are doing, this is what are the initiatives, including RSPO, and inform the people, because people don't know. And going to the press, writing articles and speaking with journalists. We don't have to be shy. We know a lot of things. And we got this conference in February in Bali called ICOPI, and I was in the steering committee just the other week, and we are probably planning to showcase oil palm as a model. It's a bit provocative, but at the end, if you put all the data we got and all the effort which is made in putting this community into sustainability, maybe we are becoming a model, because there's no other crops in which so much effort and so much collaborative research has been organized for so many years. So if you take a message, yeah, we need research. We need research to improve the robustness of our criteria, and we need collaborative research. And it's going to be a big change, and the change is already happening. When I was a young researcher, each company, each group had its own breeding program, his own fertilization program. We didn't share, we keep it secret. Now it's no use of that. We we are much more efficient, we're much more transparent, and we can advertise and publish much more results if we are sharing. And the funny thing with this commodity is that in a couple of decades, public awareness are pushed not only new approaches in terms of agroecological impacts and sustainable practices, but also new people. There are many new faces around. NGOs, of course, but bureaus and people who are working on oil palm, economists, socio-economists, and that's very good because we are attracting a lot of new people who got brilliant brains and pretty good new ideas. Large-scale projects are emerging because there's a lot of things we don't know about corridors, about patches, about landscape planning, about community planning. The movie is very interesting in this way. There's a lot of knowledge to be produced and shared. And those large-scale projects are very interesting, and they are complementary, and you have to be smart enough to exchange our results and publish them and exchange PhD students so that we're not duplicating things and we are making complementary approaches. Yes, as I said, research is a useful partner to provide sizable results and shared results to the establishment and to fortify the establishment of PNCs. And also there's a need for education. I'm not sure we are talking enough about that. We have a lot of engineers, we got a lot of plantation managers, we got a lot of researchers. Do they share the same vision of sustainability? Have they all been trained in the same way? Do they share the same basics about what good plantation management is? I'm not sure about that. And maybe there's some room for a kind of oil palm university or something in which under our SPO or another body, I don't know. It's just a crazy idea I've got for many years now, that those new guys are just coming out of school, they put their boots on and they go into the plantations, and maybe they're doing exactly the right way. They've shared their knowledge before, during their training. Maybe it's a bit of an improvement. So just a crazy question. So, and we have to jump into the public debate. We don't have to be shy. We have to find a good language to address people and make simple but true answers to the question. They are legitimate. And as we already know here, but not in all audiences, the impact of public awareness is huge. So we have to cultivate that, and we have to feed that, and we have to inform people with the right information. Because the people from the press, maybe they don't know what they should know also. And it's a lot of time and energy, but I think it pays off because it's the way we can make a positive use of public awareness. So with that, I really thank you for your attention, and I'm ready for questions or see you around. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rival. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's also Dr. Rival's birthday today, so on behalf of everyone here and the RSPO, a very happy birthday.
Thank you very much.